Up to now, we've talked a lot about why understanding by design matters, why it helps us move from teaching content to designing learning. Now comes the real question teachers always ask: how do I actually write one? The good news is this: writing your first UbD is not complicated, but it does require one thing most teachers are not used to doing. You must follow the right order. Writing UbD is like making a chocolate croissant. You don't start with the oven, you don't start with activities, you don't even start with the recipe steps. You start with the result you want. What kind of croissant are you trying to create? That mindset will guide everything we do today. Stage 1 is where most mistakes happen, because this is where teachers often write content instead of understanding. Stage 1 is not about what students will do. It is about what students will understand. Enduring understandings are the soul of your unit. If you get this part wrong, everything else collapses. Before you write anything, pause and ask yourself, what should students still understand years later? What big idea is worth remembering? If I remove this understanding, does the unit still matter? An enduring understanding always starts with, students will understand that. It is not a list of topics. It is not a set of skills. It is a transferable idea. For example, in science, students will understand that energy is transformed and transferred within systems to support life. Essential questions keep students thinking long after the lesson ends. They are not test questions. They do not have one correct answer, and they can be returned to again and again. A strong, essential question invites inquiry. For example, how does energy move through living systems? Here is a quick check. If your question can be answered in one sentence, it is not an essential question. Now we move to knowledge and skills. Think of these as your ingredients and techniques. They are necessary, but they are not the final goal. Students will know key concepts, terms, and facts. Students will be able to analyze, explain, apply, and communicate. These ingredients matter, but ingredients alone do not make a croissant. Before planning any lessons, you must decide one thing. How will students prove they understand? Ask yourself, what evidence would convince me they truly understand? What does understanding look like in action? This evidence can take many forms. A performance task, an explanation supported by evidence, a presentation, a written reflection. If you cannot clearly imagine the assessment, you are not ready to move on. Only now do we talk about lessons and activities. This stage answers 3 questions. What learning experiences will help students reach the understanding? In what sequence? With what support and differentiation? This is where lesson plans live. Understanding by design does not replace lesson planning. It gives lesson planning a purpose. Here are mistakes we see again and again. Writing lessons before clarifying understanding. Writing enduring understandings as skill objectives. Turning essential questions into test questions. Listing too much knowledge without prioritizing. If this happens, stop. Go back to stage 1. Your first UbD does not need to be perfect. It needs to be intentional. Understanding by design is not about writing more documents. It is about designing learning that makes sense. Just like a chocolate croissant, quality comes from knowing exactly what you are trying to create. So here is your task. Choose one unit. Write one enduring understanding. Write one essential question. Stop there. That's how every good UbD begins.